Hey, Mizzou fans, this is Mark Fitzpatrick, Tiger Club of Kansas City. It's Tuesday, February 25th. Our guest speaker, our old friend from the Kansas City Star, the jack of all trades. And we found today, not only do you cover the Chiefs, Royals, Mizzou, colleges, etc., you do stand-up.
And spokesman for the industry, too. I like that.
A lot of good questions today.
There were a lot of good questions. And one of the reasons I like coming here is because you get a lot of good questions. And wouldn't you know that, look, I thought about it on the way here today that you always have to talk Mizzou. You have to, this was the audience, right? We're less than a month away from removed from a Chiefs Super Bowl.
Right.
How often do you get to talk about something like that? So we did spend a lot of time talking Mizzou and Chiefs.
Speaking of Mizzou, last Friday, Eli Drinkwitz made his debut in Kansas City, or public debut. We had a really nice crowd here at the Westport Flea Market.
I heard.
And frankly, he knocked it out of the park, I think, with the crowd. Have you had a chance to meet him? And he's from your alma mater, Appalachian State.
His 1 year head coaching experience was at Appalachian State, where I went to school. We met one time, and that was at his introductory news conference, just briefly. Got a chance to ask him a couple questions. A lot of people did that day.
Yeah.
But I was impressed then, and I wish I could have been here Friday for his stage performance, because I heard it was terrific.
It was great.
And I'm not surprised to hear that, just based on how he handled his introductory news conference, how he's handled press conferences, recruiting and otherwise since then. There are a few ways to judge how you think a new coach will perform, but so far you like what you've seen and heard from Eli Drinkwitz. His press conferences, the recruiting, what he says about recruiting, all pretty positive signs.
Okay. Going to basketball, Tigers are playing much better of late. We've had the injury bug again with Conzo Martin's team, but I think, and you brought up today, I think the team is on the right track.
It is, and to be on the right track this late in the season, to me, indicates a couple things. First, they're still believing and buying into Conzo Martin. They haven't given up on a season when there were times when you just thought, at South Carolina, at A&M, at Mississippi State, just some awful, awful losses. But to be playing well, in late February going into March, that's a pretty good sign. And it also gives fans hope that there could be some basketball beyond the SEC tournament. It's all kind of coincided with Xavier Pinson's play,
right.
and he and Drew Smith seem to be playing really well together, and Reed Nico has been fun to watch, and just things are falling right. As like I said, I look forward to watching Mizzou basketball. It hasn't always been the case this year.
All right, let's turn to the Chiefs. You spent a good time in Miami during Super Bowl week, and you told us it was your first Super Bowl you ever covered. Tell us a little about the experience.
Oh, my gosh. Well, I think any sports writer who's been in it as long as I have, God, I've been in it a long time, Mark, you kind of want to experience the biggest events. And I'd never covered a Super Bowl. I'm glad I did it with the team that I was covering, which was the Chiefs, and it made it just every day you were looking for the next story, and it was there. It presented itself. There was incredible interest, obviously, here in Kansas City for it, and around the country and around the world, which was interesting to talk to radio people from Mexico, from Canada, from England, from all over the world who wanted to know about Kansas City and the Chiefs. And I think one of the interesting things is just somebody who's lived here for as long as I have, just what the impact of the Chiefs being in the Super Bowl and winning the Super Bowl had to the image of Kansas City around the world. It's like, look, we all get, you and I and everybody here gets the Kansas City, Kansas City, Missouri, you get that. Well, it was okay for people to ask that because they were genuinely interested in that, and you got to educate them a little bit.
Including the president of the United States.
Including the president who got it fixed, but don't put it out in the first place, right? But anyway, that was part of the fun, was just talking to people from other parts of the world about Kansas City.
So it was great, and as one who vividly remember Super Bowl IV. I waited a long time for this one. Last question on the Kansas City Royals. New ownership, new manager. Lineup looks set. Pitching still a question mark.
I think that's where the question is, the pitching, not just the starters but the bullpen. Ian Kennedy probably at the back end. He'll at least start there. Starting pitching, they've had moments. All of them have. Mike Montgomery and Jacob Junis and Brad Keller and Danny Dutt. They've all had moments. You just want to see them, 200 inning guys with ERAs, in the low fours sort of thing. put together some consistency there. Maybe the fifth starter eventually will end up being Brady Singer or Jackson Kowar, some of the new guys that we've all kind of followed coming up through the minor leagues. I think that's going to have to be the next step for the Royals to be competitive, is some of these pitchers who they invested in the draft in the previous few years really need to make it in the bigs.
I just want to say, in all your 30-plus years in Kansas City, did you ever think we would be saying we had 2 world champions within a 4-year span?
No, how many cities get to say that?
Yeah,
how many cities get? Not many get to say that.
We waited a long time.
We did.
Hey, once voted Kansas City's best-looking sports journalist.
Get out of here.
It's a pretty low bar.
Totally low bar.
Anyway, thanks, Blair, as
Thanks,
always.
Mark.
Follow him on Twitter, at Blair Kerkhoff. Hey, next week, national football writer Therese Paler, also used to cover
Come for
Mizzou.
Therese.
He is very good and knows the NFL as well as anybody. Hey, check us out on our website for information on our golf tournament, April 20th at Lakewood Oaks. And also, the Missouri Alumni Association's Tiger Ball will be April 4th. More information on the club and membership, check us out at kctigerclub.com.